Well, hello my friends, it's Shawn Petite and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so glad that you're here. Look at this gorgeousness. Oh, what a great piece this was to do. Here are the supplies that we'll be using today. So I'm starting on, today's project on an 11 by 14 MDF board, and I am putting some black gesso down. And I'm doing things a little bit differently on this one. I didn't really know how to accomplish what I wanted, what I was envisioning. And so you'll kind of watch me kind of stumble my way through, but I am pleased with the outcome. So I'm using Deco Art Media's black gesso, and the gesso is down, but it's still wet. And I wanted to try and get kind of this gray mixture of paint. And so I'm working wet, and I'm using Nova Colors white gesso. And you're gonna watch me kind of do layer and then do a little bit of something different and then come back to that layer, because I wasn't sure how to get the look that I wanted. I wanted the background, the bottom part, to really kind of be scratchy, but I didn't want it to be I didn't want to use a palette knife because I didn't want it to be that distinct of a pattern. I wanted it to be kind of blended. And so I thought my brayer would do the best job at that. And it took me a little bit of time to kind of find my way through this piece and to where I wanted to go. So I'm using my boulder stencil for the boulder look. And I'm just kind of picking and choosing different boulders, I guess, from the stencil to kind of fit the pattern and design that I had in my head. I'm using some black and some white gesso mixed together to kind of give some grayish, not completely white. This is the cobblestone stencil because I wanted some smaller ones too, and I'm using, these are Nova Colors Quin Magenta and their teal or turquoise color. And again, still using the cobblestone stencil in different shapes and that kind of thing. And then I'm just going to kind of go back and forth here a little bit until it's kind of like when you're creating and you're in the beginning stages, you're not quite sure where to go next, and it's at some point in the piece where all of a sudden it's like, okay, here comes, I see it, I see where I'm going and what's happening. And it's once I get this next layer of brayering down that I kind of go, okay, now I know, and then I can kind of move forward a little bit more with some confidence. But I think we all kind of start out tentative and aren't quite as bold when we're painting when we first start, because we don't really know exactly how it's going to go. But after I got this layer of brayering down, I could really actually see it but come together better, and I was like, oh yes, because at first I'm like, I don't think this is right. But I kind of dry brushed my brayering, and I loved that look because it still allowed the black to show through, and that's what I was really going for, but I wanted it to be really kind of blended and soft. And so as soon as I started getting some of that dry brush gesso down and really kind of distinguishing the boulders from kind of the background and still not taking away from kind of that brayer dry brush kind of feel, it all really started to come together, and I could see the vision of where this was going. So all the supplies that I'll be using today will be listed on the blog, and the link to the blog is down below in the YouTube description box. And everything in this piece has meaning, and I'll share more about what inspired me and what the boulders represent, the colors, the gold, all of that has meaning, and so I'll share all of that at the story at the end, so I hope you stick around for that. And now I'm just kind of now that I've kind of have the vision, and you can see how my decisions are more confident, and I'm moving through each layer a little bit faster, and I'm not hesitating as much, and so yeah, it's all coming together. So I've got the gold. This is Dr. P.H. Martin gold acrylic ink. Now I'm going to come back in with some acrylic paint, but I wanted to do the ink first because I wanted to see the drip, and I wanted to see how it was going to flow down the piece, because that's all kind of part of the story, and it helps me see how it will drip down the waves and that kind of thing. And then I'm going to come back in and really accentuate that gold a lot. But as soon as I can see it drip down, I can kind of see the vision and then add to it. So you can see I'm dripping some down, and then I'm making drips happen as well. And but I needed to see those drips first to kind of see how it flowed down the piece. And so I'm just going to continue to add my gold ink first and kind of get that smoothed out, get some drips going. And I'm trying to keep a lot of it, not completely, but a lot of it off of the white, but I did want a little bit kind of overflowing onto the white boulders because that's part of the story. And so now I'm going to come in and really just accentuate this gold, and I'm using Artesa's Aztec gold and regular gold metallic paint kind of mixed together. One's kind of a orangish gold and one's a brilliant bright gold, and I wanted kind of a little bit of both. And so I am using a little bit of both. I'll dip my brush into one and then I'll dip my brush into the other color to kind of get some variation. And I positively love, you can see the difference of how that solid gold just really makes it kind of stand out. And I'm using a small brush because I wanted a lot of control. I wanted to be able to place it exactly where I wanted it. Plus I wanted to see the brush strokes, and the smaller your brush, the more brush strokes you will have. I also knew that I was going to kind of accentuate my drips, and so that's another reason why I chose the small brush as well. So now I'm going to come back in with just some gesso on my small brush and really kind of bring some of the areas forward with that bright white and really kind of accentuate my boulders, my drips, without taking away too much of the brayered look and the dry brush look that I just spent so much time doing. But you have to be willing to let go of the background that you created to make the piece work, and so it needed that contrast between some of the areas, and so just kind of filling in some of the gaps here. I'm going to add a little bit of that gesso in my gray boulder areas again to bring some highlight and some depth and dimension so that it's not just one flat color. Now my colors down there, those really represent an important part of the story of this piece, and so they were just kind of fading into that background. So I had to bring some color to it. So I got some fluorescent magenta and added a tiny bit of gesso to that, and then a tiny bit of gesso to my teal, and that was what it needed to make it pop. And that dark color still back behind that color. I didn't color all the way over, and so again, that adds dimension. So I've got my Mediterranean minis stencil here, and I am kind of bringing that gold down into this pattern. And again, this has meaning, and again, I'll share that at the end of the video, but keeping the gold alongside of the other gold areas kind of makes it feel cohesive and kind of part of the story instead of just some random pattern here or there. So now I've got my fine line applicator, and I've got my black paint in my fine line applicator along with my airbrush medium mixed up really well, and I'm going to now just kind of really start bringing in the details. I'm going to accent the outline of not every single area, but almost all of the areas, and I'm creating not just a straight line, but kind of veins almost, or maybe a marble look, something like that, and just kind of creating the detail. I did come back over it with a napkin and or a rag and kind of pick some of that up to see if it looked good, kind of muted, and it didn't really make a whole lot of difference, so that's okay. I'm going to bring some of that black back in because again, I felt like that was part of the story that I needed to kind of bring back. This again is my fine line applicator with white acrylic paint and airbrush medium. And again, I am just kind of redefining some of that stenciled area and adding some of the fun, fine details. Adding just a few more details, and I'm bringing the black up, and I'll bring some of that gold down with some of the, this is the scribble marks for stencil. And I bring those colors up and down to keep the eye moving around the piece and to kind of help balance it out. And now I've got a very fine tip brush that I'm going to help accentuate some more of the gold. I needed a finer tip brush. And we are almost done with this project, and I hope you enjoyed today's project. And if you did, I hope you subscribe and like and share and all those wonderful things. And I do hope that you stick around for the conversation at the end. It's a good one about what really inspired this piece, and I get really kind of vulnerable about a few things. And so now I'm going to take my charcoal pencil and just add in certain areas, not all the way around, just some a little bit of shading and depth. just to, again, accentuate certain areas. Add some depth to my boulders, give them some interest, and really kind of bring them out just a tiny bit. And then I will shade around the edge with my black soft pastel. And add just a few more touches here and there, and that is it, my friends. Super simple, but really, really meaningful. And I'm glad I found my way on this piece. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Well, hello, my loves, and happy Sunday to you. So, my goodness, I positively love this. I had this idea, or I got the inspiration from my devotions, and I just wasn't sure how to make it come out or how I wanted it to look, and it just turned out perfectly. It speaks to me and to what I was thinking, and it's just so good. So before I get into this, couple of things. The stencils that I used, there's 4 of them that I used in today's project, will be on sale this week. All the supplies are listed on the blog, and the link to the blog is down below. And I went over everything else in the video. This past week, me and 11 other of past creative team members did a YouTube hop, and if you haven't seen it, check it out, because the projects are amazing. We used one stencil, the fall leaves stencil, and everybody did their own thing, and it's just, I love seeing how many awesome projects can come from one stencil. It just makes me happy. But as you hop from video to video, if you comment on each video, you are entered to win a free stencil, and I'm giving away a free stencil at each stop. So there's an opportunity for you to there's 12 opportunities for you to possibly win a stencil of your choice. So you get a free stencil, and you get some really, really great ideas for some fall leaves if you have the fall leaves stencil. Anyway, super fun. That link will also be on the blog. And I'll have all of that there. And then I have new stencils. They're in the shop as of the Sunday, October 25th, which is today, the day that you're watching this, I think. And they're in the shop. I haven't actually done a full release yet, like projects and a review and all that kind of stuff, but there's 21 new winter stencils, and they are so much fun. I cannot wait. I did some really, really good ones. I'm so excited. So you can head over there and check them out, and if you want to get some, you can, or you can wait till I do all the videos and promos and all that kind of thing. But I just want to let you know they are in the shop and ready for you. Okay, so I think, let me just grab my, okay. So I think that's all. So the inspiration behind this piece. So I was doing my journaling and my devotion time and my quiet time kind of thing. And a practice of mine is to kind of list out my, what I'm grateful for. And gratitude always, always pushes away any fear or doubt, or it just pushes away the negative. And I'll tell you, I have been really, really disciplined to do that this year, because it's just been a year, man. It's just been a crazy year. And as I was doing my devotions this last week, it's been for a small business owner, it's super hard right now. And while things have gotten better, things are now getting worse, and it's super, super scary. And all of my kids are small business owners in some form. 2 of them have a restaurant. So one's a hairdresser. I mean, there's just, it's a lot of things. And so we in the shop here had, we had one of the staff had to go home and work from home because her daughter was sent home from college because her daughter's friend had the flu and they weren't sure, and it's just this big scary mess. And so we're being super careful about how we wear our masks and clean and all that stuff here in the shop. And so you kind of start getting some momentum again, and then things happen, and it just kind of takes the wind out of you, or at least for me as a business owner, because I'm trying to keep everyone safe, myself safe, and still run a company. And so it's just been kind of a crazy time. And so in my devotionals, as I was writing things out this week, hopefully I can find it. Here it is. Nope. As I was writing things out, writing my gratitude out, I also then just started writing like what I needed, how I was feeling, kind of thing. And I just wrote that. I'm just going to read to you straight from my journal. I usually don't read directly from my journal, but I think it's perfect. And I just said, "Wash over me, Lord. Fill me with your gratitude and with your hope. Cover the broken and ugly parts with your grace. Wash over me, Lord. You say I'm more precious than gold. Fill me with that confidence. Wash over me, Lord, with your mercy, and hold my fear in your hands." Wash over me, Lord, and reveal the beauty in today. And really, honestly, that's all I can do every day, is just say my prayer and give my fear away and look for the beauty in each day. And that's really it. That's kind of especially right now with all the things, it's hard to make plans. It's hard to even think about what next month will look like, And I just needed this wash of peace. I just needed this wash of grace. I just needed this calm and this hope to kind of seep in all of my parts and touch the fear and the self-doubt and all of the things that I was feeling. And I just needed that covering. And so as I was writing that, and I reread it a couple of times because it just was so I needed to say those words. And as I was doing that, I could see where I wanted to go with the painting. And I wasn't sure, especially when I started, like, I knew I wanted some gray and some kind of scratchy, but I wasn't sure how to do it. And so my layers are kind of clunky as I'm creating, and I do some parts and then I come back and I do other parts and then I go back to, because I just wasn't sure, and I wanted to convey my heart in this piece. And so of course the gold is that symbol of more precious than gold, and the washing of the fear and the doubt, and making all of this calm down and be more precious than gold. And so all of these little boulders here are all the layers of the things that we tell ourselves, or that we're feeling, or that we're dealing with. They all build up, and the gold is just kind of washing through every bit of that to bring, and that's representing to me, to bring that peace. And then these colored pieces are those really, really tender parts of ourselves, those things that I don't tell anybody, those really scary parts that I think about myself or about the future or about all kinds of whatever. These are my tender, tender parts, and they're way down here. But they're there, and they bubble up, and so the gold is washing through all of those. And then up here, this is the dark is like that really, that dark represents the really uncertain part of life right now. And how it can almost get covered up. The gold is working its way across to cover up that uncertainty and to bring in some constant. And then all of the kind of bits of stenciling that I did here, I wanted it to kind of look like maybe even stitching or lace. How for me, in my faith, and I know we all believe different things and we have different faiths, but for me, God is stitching all of this together and bringing it all into a peaceful place within me. And then all the white is just kind of that clarity. Like, okay, I'm getting some clarity in amidst all of the things. And then I just wrote out on the side here, wash over me, wash over me. And that's really it. That's my inspiration and my message and my hope. And so I wasn't sure if I would share this because I try to stay somewhat, I don't want to say neutral, but because I know we all share different faiths. I don't want to impose what I believe on anybody, but I wanted to share this piece specifically and how it came about because it was very personal and what I needed in the moment. And so what I want for you today, my friend, is for you to have peace in the midst of the tender parts and the other things that kind of build up within us, to have some hope and peace and calm wash over you and quiet that self-doubt and that worry and the uncertainty. And most of all, I want you to know that you are more precious than gold. You are so important, and your health and your well-being is so important so that you have something to give to others and that you can give to yourself. So remember how important you are and to take care of your peace and your peace of mind. And whatever you do, however you do it, whether it's being in nature or listening to music or creating or reading or devotionals or whatever it is that brings you to a place where peace can wash over you, I pray that you do that and that you take good care of you and know how valuable you are. All right, my friends, that is it. Thank you for being here, and I hope your Sunday is restful and peaceful, and I hope that you always, always know that you are loved.